Welcome back to our journey to Mars. In the previous chapter, the crew stepped through the mysterious vault door, facing the hidden legacy of an ancient civilization. In today's chapter, we'll follow them deeper into the darkness, and closer to the ultimate test. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and leave a like or comment. Your support is what keeps this series alive and growing. In the vast chamber beneath the mountain, the pyramid's glow faded, leaving the crew in suffocating dark. Michael lay crumpled on the stone, blood seeping inside his cracked visor. Daniel knelt, trembling as he checked his pulse. "He's alive," Daniel muttered, jaw tight. But his heartbeat's weak. Elena hauled up the edge of a makeshift stretcher, voice rasping. "We have to get him back to base. This place will kill us if we stay." But Fatima remained kneeling before the pyramid, eyes blazing. "No, look at the symbols, they're still shifting. This is the moment. This is our chance to understand them." Daniel snapped, his voice booming through the chamber. "Enough, Fatima. We've already lost 2 in this canyon. Michael is dying. I won't let another life slip away chasing glyphs we can't even read." Fatima spun on him, tears cutting through the dust on her face, her voice steel. "If we turn back now, every sacrifice means nothing. Don't you see, Daniel? This isn't a trap, it's a legacy. We have to learn from it." The air went razor tight. Elena's eyes flicked between them, torn, not only by their fight, but by the command still echoing from Moscow. While Daniel fought to stabilize Michael, Elena slipped back into the shadows. She keyed in a private channel, fingers trembling. On her visor, a line of text appeared: "Transmit data, priority national security." She raised her scanner to the glowing wall of glyphs. Streams of data poured across her screen, every line a betrayal. Sweat prickled her skin inside the suit. "What am I doing? This isn't Russia's discovery, this belongs to all of humanity." Her hand shook. For a moment, she nearly cut the transmission. Then, she pressed send. The signal blinked red, then vanished into the void between Mars and Earth. Elena shut her eyes. The guilt was instant, and heavy. Daniel rose. "We're pulling out. Michael goes back to the base, now." Fatima shouted, raw and furious. "You don't get to decide alone. This isn't just survival, this is history." Akira stepped in, tense but firm. "Fatima, Daniel's right. We can't risk another loss. But I'll keep recording every glyph. Once we're safe, I'll decode them." Fatima collapsed against the wall, sobbing. "You don't understand. I've waited my whole life for this. I'm not afraid to die. I'm afraid of missing the truth." Daniel crouched, resting a hand on her shoulder, voice softening. "I know. But to find truth, we have to survive it first." They lifted Michael onto the rover stretcher, moving back through the tunnel. The walls still glowed faintly, glyphs following them like eyes in the dark. Fatima looked back one last time, her gaze burning with grief and obsession. At the rover's hatch, Daniel glanced behind, toward the silent pyramid still pulsing faintly. He swore he could feel it watching. Elena gripped the controls, knuckles white. No matter how hard she focused on the road ahead, her mind kept flashing to the phrase burned across her visor: "Data transmission complete." Back at Mars Base Alpha, Luis rushed Michael into the infirmary, hooking sensors to his arm. "He's bleeding out," Luis muttered. "But there's something else." On the screen, microscopic images bloomed, tiny metallic specks drifting through Michael's blood, glowing faintly like fireflies. Luis froze. "Dear God, these aren't blood cells. They're nanoparticles. Machines." Daniel's stomach dropped. "Nano? You mean?" Luis swallowed hard. "Something from that pyramid, it's inside him. This isn't just an injury. It's an intervention." That night, Daniel sat alone, journal open on his lap. Day 15. We left Kandar Chasma behind. Fatima calls it cowardice. Elena stays silent. Akira swears he'll keep decoding. Michael lies half dead, his blood seeded with alien nano-machines. I don't know if they're weapons, or a message written into flesh. But I know this: we've crossed a threshold unprepared. Mars isn't passive. It's probing us. Testing us. He paused, staring out at the red horizon through the window. Mars no longer felt like a barren planet. It felt alive, a vast organism, weighing their worth. The base's lights flickered. Daniel glanced up just as the comms unit blazed to life. On every screen, glyphs pulsed red. A single phrase etched itself across the monitors, identical to those carved in the cavern walls. Daniel's heart hammered. He didn't know if the message came from the artifact, the pyramid, or Mars itself. He whispered into the silence. We opened the door, and now there's no turning back. Inside Mars Base Alpha, the air was heavier than the Martian storms raging outside. Michael lay motionless in the med bay, his face pale beneath the visor. His wounds had been dressed, but his pulse was weak, his breath shallow. Luis stood before the scanner, the glow of the monitor washing his face pale. He inhaled sharply, then called the others. There's something you all need to see. On the screen, magnified cells floated in suspension. Between the red blood cells, tiny points of light swirled, microscopic, deliberate. Luis pointed with a trembling hand. These aren't bacteria. They're not debris. They're nanoparticles, about 40 nanometers across. But look, they're not random. They move in patterns. Akira leaned in, his voice low, stunned. They're programmed. Fatima clutched her chest, whispering. No, it can't be. Mars had nanotech. Alina's voice was hoarse. Not just had. They used it as defense. Michael hasn't just been injured, he's been marked. Michael convulsed suddenly, body jerking against the restraints. His eyes rolled back, sweat streaming. Luis jabbed a sedative into his arm, but the heart monitor spiked, chaotic. Michael screamed in delirium. They're inside me. Don't let them take it. Don't. Daniel pinned his shoulders, desperate. Michael, stay with us. But Michael only thrashed harder, before collapsing back, chest heaving. Luis checked the monitor, then looked up grimly. He's alive because they are keeping him alive. If I purge the nano, it might kill him instantly. The room went cold. Fatima shook her head, voice breaking. Maybe it isn't a weapon. Maybe it's a message. Mars didn't want to kill him, they wanted to implant memory. Alina's reply was sharp as a blade. A message. He's dying, and you want to call it a gift. Daniel stood torn in the middle. He looked from Michael's twitching body to the dancing lights on the screen. A terrible thought took hold. Was this how Mars preserved its history, by writing memory into blood? Akira copied the nano's movement patterns, feeding them into the system. Minutes later, symbols formed across the display, spirals, circles, interlocking lines. His hands trembled. They're not just machines. They're living glyphs. A storage system encoded into flesh. Silence fell. Fatima's voice cracked, awe and horror entwined. Michael, he's become a living book. They're writing their memory into him. In the corner, Elena quietly keyed her transmitter, intending to beam the data back to Earth. But when she initiated the link, her screen froze. Instead of a channel to Moscow, a line of crimson glyphs scrolled across. Foreigner, warning. Elena went rigid. Sweat trickled down her spine. For the first time, she realized it wasn't only Earth watching. Mars itself was reading them. Later, Daniel scribbled into his journal, hands unsteady. Day 16. Michael isn't just wounded. His blood carries nano-machines, moving like language. Akira says they're living code, memory embedded in flesh. If he's right, then Mars left more than ruins. They left themselves. But is it an invitation, or an invasion? I don't know. What I do know is this: we're no longer explorers. We're becoming subjects. He closed the journal, his stomach tight with dread. Michael convulsed again. His eyes snapped open, but they weren't his eyes anymore. They were distant, empty. His lips moved, voice alien, cold. We repeated the mistake. War, destruction, do not go further. Then he collapsed, skin clammy, heartbeat faint. Luis whispered, pale as ash. That wasn't Michael. That was someone else speaking through him. No one replied. In the silent med bay, the truth pressed down like stone. They weren't six alone in that room. A ghost of Mars had spoken. Row. After Michael collapsed with that other voice, the base was steeped in dread. Luis hovered at his bedside, though his eyes kept flicking to the monitor, where the nanoparticles in Michael's blood still drifted in eerie synchrony. Fatima never left her notebook, filling page after page with sketches of the glyphs. Her hands trembled, but her eyes burned. They're showing us their story, she whispered, almost reverent. Elena stood apart, weighed down by guilt. She knew the transmission had failed. Instead of reaching Earth, the word warning had flashed like a scar across her screen. For the first time, Elena asked herself, was she betraying her country, or betraying her own conscience? Daniel sat at the console, rereading his own journal. Each line cut deeper. We crossed the threshold. We woke the memory of a dead planet. In the auxiliary control room, Akira filled the wall with projected symbols, thousands of spirals, arcs, and loops assembling into a matrix. I mapped the nanoparticles' movement to the glyphs in the tunnels, he said, voice taut. They align perfectly. Which means, Michael's blood holds the key to their language. Fatima rushed forward, breathless. What did you find? Akira fed in more data. The swarm of symbols shifted, aligning into a single phrase the system's primitive translator dared to guess. Memory, warning, war. The room froze. Luis muttered, almost to himself, war. So they destroyed each other too. 2 days later, Akira began to dream. He saw a Martian city, gleaming under a blue sky. Towers of alloy shimmered above rivers and seas. Then, blinding flashes. Weapons tore the heavens open. The ground convulsed. The oceans turned to blood. And the towers fell into dust. He woke gasping, drenched in sweat, hands trembling. His voice shook as he told them. I saw it. Mars was alive, vibrant. And then they killed themselves, with their own power. Daniel frowned. Are you sure it wasn't just stress? Akira's eyes blazed, bloodshot. No, I know. Those dreams aren't mine. They were given to me. Fatima grasped his hand, eyes wet with conviction. Yes, they're not trying to destroy us. They're warning us. They want us to learn from their fall. It's a gift. From his cot, Michael rasped a bitter laugh. A gift, filling our heads with nightmares of genocide. That's no gift. It's a curse. We're no different from them, we'll end the same way. Alina's voice cut sharp, like ice. You're both wrong. Gift or curse, this is power. Whoever controls it, controls humanity. Fatima glared at her. Don't you see? This isn't about nations. It's about whether our species even deserves to survive. The air crackled with tension. Finally, Daniel raised his voice. Enough. Arguing won't save us. The question isn't what it means. The question is what we do next. That night, Daniel wrote. Day 17. Akira decoded 3 words: memory, warning, war. He dreams of Mars green and bright, then burning in its own fire. I believe him, because Michael has spoken the same in delirium. If true, then Mars' memory is awakening in us. But why us? We're only 6 souls, not chosen, not worthy. Or maybe, anyone who touches them becomes a vessel. He stopped, hand trembling. Then the signal surged again. Every console lit up in red. Lines of glyphs cascaded across the screens. Memory, repeat, danger, foreigner. The crew rushed in. Fatima sobbed openly. Alina's fists clenched white. Akira whispered, shaking, they're speaking directly. They're saying if we repeat their mistakes, we'll be destroyed as they were. From his bed, Michael laughed again, ragged and hollow. Then welcome, to the future of mankind. Daniel stared at the crimson words blazing like wounds. Deep down, he knew, this was only the beginning of horrors yet to come. It happened at 2:13 local mission time. Mars Base Alpha had been silent for hours, each crew member locked in their own restless thoughts. Daniel was half asleep over his digital journal, Luis was monitoring Michael's fragile vitals, Akira was still running simulations, and Elena sat alone by the comms console, pretending to wait for Earth's reply. Then, without warning, the lights flickered. One by one, every system powered down. The hum of air filters died, the soft buzz of electronics vanished. Within seconds, the base was plunged into pitch-black silence. The first sound came from Fatima, a short, terrified gasp. Daniel, her voice trembled in the dark, the power. Daniel jumped to his feet, fumbling for his emergency headlamp. The beam sliced through the black, illuminating pale faces and wide eyes. Luis swore under his breath. This wasn't scheduled. No maintenance cycle. Something cut everything. Akira slammed keys on his dead console. Nothing. He reached for his backup tablet, its screen still faintly alive. His face drained of color as he read the feed. This isn't a failure, he whispered. It's an attack. A signal, originating from Kandor Chasma. The word struck the crew like a hammer. An attack. Elena barked, her voice harsh. From what? Rocks. You're letting your paranoia drive you insane. But Akira shook his head violently, thrusting the tablet forward. No, look at this. Before the blackout, I recorded a surge at 13 MHz. It wasn't random static, it was structured. It aligned perfectly with the Martian glyphs we saw in the tunnel. Luis muttered, structured, like language. Akira's voice cracked. No, like a command. Daniel clenched his jaw. You're saying, this blackout was triggered by them. By whatever built that pyramid. The headlamp beam caught Michael's pale face as he stirred in his bed. His voice rasped from cracked lips, barely audible but chilling in the silence. They don't want us here, outsiders. Daniel snapped back into command mode. Emergency procedures, now. Elena, check life support backups. Luis, stay with Michael. Akira, try to isolate the frequency that hit us. Fatima, with me, get the auxiliary power online. The crew scrambled in the dim light. Elena pried open a panel, sparks showering as she rewired by hand. Her gloved fingers trembled but moved with practiced skill. The emergency filters roared faintly back to life, a shallow breath returning to the base. Fatima hauled a portable generator toward the system's hub, Daniel at her side. Sweat beaded on their foreheads despite the cold. The machine rumbled, sputtered, then gave a thin whine of power. Dim red lights flickered on overhead. Not full power, but enough to breathe, enough to see. Relief washed over the crew, until the monitors lit up. On every screen, across every panel, the same glowing red symbol appeared. It was not Earth's code. It was not random static. It was Martian. The symbol pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Then, with a jolt, more symbols scrolled across the screens in long repeating lines. Akira's voice broke as he translated. It says, outsiders. Warning. Do not repeat. Fatima covered her mouth with both hands, tears welling in her eyes. They're talking to us directly. Elena's lips curled into a snarl. Or threatening us. You think this is a message of peace? This is hostile. They're telling us to leave. Michael sat upright suddenly, his face ghostly pale in the dim red light. His voice wasn't his own, it was deeper, distorted, as if layered with echoes. You've broken the seal, you've walked into memory not meant for you. Outsiders bring destruction. Outsiders must be judged. Everyone froze. The only sound was the low thrum of the generator. Luis whispered, horrified, that wasn't Michael. That was them. Fatima stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. No, listen to them. They're not here to kill us, they're warning us. This is a gift, memories of their mistakes. If we learn, maybe humanity has a chance. Elena snapped back, eyes blazing. Or maybe it's psychological warfare. They're inside his blood, inside his head. And now they're inside our systems. We're being manipulated. Akira slammed his fist on the console. Both of you shut up. This isn't about belief or fear. The fact is, our systems are compromised. That pyramid, that tunnel, they're not ruins. They're still active. Which means, he swallowed hard. Someone, or something, is still here. Daniel felt the weight of their eyes on him. Leader, commander, reluctant judge. His chest tightened. If Akira was right, they weren't alone. They had never been alone since setting foot on Mars. When the power finally stabilized, Daniel retreated for a moment of solitude. In the small glow of his private lamp, he wrote, Day 18 tonight, Mars Base Alpha died for 7 minutes. Not because of malfunction, but because the planet itself, or what remains of it, struck us. They called us outsiders. They warned us not to repeat. Michael's body is no longer only his. It speaks for them. I no longer know if our mission is exploration, or if we are prisoners inside someone else's memory. He set the pen down, staring at the trembling letters. For the first time since launch, Daniel admitted the thought he had buried deep. Maybe this was never about colonizing Mars. Maybe Mars has been waiting, silently, to judge whoever arrived. As Daniel closed the journal, an alarm pierced the silence. The crew rushed to the control room. On the largest screen, the Martian symbol pulsed again. This time, it shifted. Transformed. Became a crude but unmistakable shape, a human silhouette. The silhouette stood tall for a moment, then shattered into fragments of red dust. Underneath it, a final line of symbols burned bright. All outsiders fall. The crew stared, paralyzed by terror. Michael, half-conscious, whispered with a bloody grin. Judgment has begun. Morning on Mars was nothing like Earth. No birds, no dawn chorus, no warmth seeping through the air. Just red dust scattering across the horizon, and a silence so deep it pressed on the chest. Inside Mars Base Alpha, that silence had grown unbearable. Elena sat hunched over the comms console, her eyes bloodshot from a sleepless night. She had tried a dozen times to re-establish a stable uplink to Earth. Every attempt ended the same way. The line went through, static flared, and then, the red Martian glyph. She slammed her fist against the console. Come on, damn it. Someone answer me. No response. Just the eerie pulse of symbols scrolling across the display. Fatima stood behind her, clutching her notebook. Maybe they can't hear us. Solar interference. No. Elena spun, her face pale. Earth isn't the one answering. Mars is. Akira hurried in, tablet clutched to his chest. She's right. I analyzed the signal. It carries none of the signature markers from Earth's deep space network. No handshake codes, no timestamps. The structure is alien. It's imitating Earth's comms. Hijacking the channel. Luis froze. You're telling me, Mars intercepted Earth? Not intercepted. Akira's voice cracked. Replaced. Fatima's face drained of color. So all this time we thought Earth was listening, but it was them. Daniel arrived just as Elena rose from her seat, fists clenched. For a moment, he thought she was going to punch the console again. But instead, her voice dropped to a whisper. I sent data, before. Everyone turned. Elena's throat tightened, but the truth spilled out. When we first entered the tunnel. When we saw the glyphs. I transmitted everything, back to Moscow. It was protocol. I had no choice. Akira's jaw dropped. And what came back? Elena's eyes burned, tears threatening. At first, nothing. Then, a reply. But not from Moscow. The signal was already changed. The glyphs. Daniel's chest tightened. So they know everything we've seen. Fatima's voice rose in panic. Then we're not just explorers anymore. We're test subjects. They've been watching, responding, deciding what we're allowed to hear. The comms console flickered. For a moment, hope surged, maybe Earth, maybe a human voice. But the screen filled with scrolling Martian characters, rearranging until they froze into a single crude English phrase, jagged and imperfect but clear. You were seen. Everyone recoiled. Even Michael, half-conscious on his cot, stirred and laughed weakly. They're watching, every word, every thought. We're not explorers, we're insects under glass. Luis barked. Enough. He's delirious, don't listen. But the tremor in his voice betrayed him. Panic spiraled. Fatima clutched her chest, eyes wild. We can't ignore them. If they wanted to kill us, they could have done it already. They're warning us, guiding us. Elena snapped back, voice sharp, warning us. They cut our power, infected Michael's blood, hijacked our comms. That isn't guidance, that's control. Akira slammed his tablet on the console. Both of you, stop. The fact is, they're intelligent. Ancient, yes, but still here. We have to assume every system, every transmission, is compromised. We don't decide what Earth knows anymore. Mars decides. Daniel finally roared, silencing them. We stick together, or we die. End of discussion. Later, in the dim quiet of his quarters, Daniel opened his journal. His hand shook as he wrote. Day 19 Earth is gone. Or maybe not gone, but cut off. The only voices that answer us now are Martian. Elena confessed she already transmitted everything, but the replies weren't human. They were, them. The words, you are seen, appeared on our screen. Seen by what? Survivors. Ghosts. Or an AI still humming in the ruins of a dead world. I can't decide which terrifies me more, that a civilization still lingers here, watching, or that it died long ago, and its machines now judge us blindly, mistaking us for the architects of our own destruction. That night, as the others tried to sleep, Elena remained by the console. The red glyph pulsed steadily on the screen like a heartbeat. She leaned closer, whispering as if to a confessional. What do you want from us? Why us? For a moment, static. Then, impossibly, the symbols rearranged again. This time, the message appeared not in glyphs but in crude Cyrillic, her own language. Choice. Elena's breath caught. Choice. Her hands trembled over the console, unsure if she should answer. For the first time, she realized she wasn't just spying for her country anymore. She was standing at the edge of something bigger, something terrifying. At 3 o'clock, alarms blared again. The entire crew rushed to the comms room. Every screen was alive, flooded with Martian script. This time, the symbols shifted and twisted until they formed not words, but an image. A globe, blue and green. Earth. The crew gasped. Then the image fractured. Explosions of red light tore across continents. The globe cracked apart, dissolving into dust. Beneath it, the same jagged English text as before. Do not repeat. Fatima sobbed aloud. Luis stared in horror. Akira whispered, they're showing us their end. And warning, if we follow the same path, Earth will burn like Mars. Daniel's throat tightened. His voice was hoarse but steady. They're not just watching. They're holding us accountable, and maybe, they've already decided what kind of species we are. Michael, barely conscious, chuckled weakly. Outsiders. All outsiders fall. Fatima hadn't slept. While the others lay restless in their bunks, she paced the geology lab like a ghost. On every table lay trays of Martian soil and rock samples, lined up under sterile light. To anyone else, they were just dull red stones, lifeless and dry. But to Fatima, they whispered secrets. She pressed her palms flat against the cold surface of one tray, whispering in Arabic, tell me your story, show me your ocean. Since childhood she had dreamed of water on Mars, not the thin ice caps or trace vapors that probes had hinted at, but rivers, lakes, seas. A living ocean. And now, with the evidence of microbial fossils already in their hands, she was consumed with the thought, there had to be more. At dawn, Daniel found her hunched over the microscope. Her eyes were bloodshot, her fingers trembling as she adjusted the lens. Fatima, he said gently, you need rest. She didn't even glance up. Look. Just look. Daniel sighed and leaned over. In the circular viewfinder, magnified hundreds of times, was a sliver of stone she had split the night before. At first, he saw nothing. Just mineral veins and dust. Then his breath caught. Embedded in the rock was a delicate spiral, barely half a millimeter long. Its ridges curved in perfect symmetry, like the shell of a tiny mollusk. Daniel blinked hard. That's not possible. Fatima's voice shook with emotion. It's not bacteria, not single-celled. This is multicellular, fossilized, proof of complex life, proof of an ocean. Within an hour, the crew gathered around the monitor. Luis stared in awe, whispering, Dios mío. Akira typed furiously, analyzing the structure. The spiral is consistent with aquatic organisms. The mineralization indicates it fossilized in a water-rich environment, billions of years ago. Fatima's eyes glistened with tears. Do you understand what this means? Mars wasn't just alive, it thrived. Seas, ecosystems, perhaps even food chains. Michael, still weak in his cot, scoffed. Or maybe it's contamination. Dust carried from Earth, lodged in your precious rock. Luis shot him a glare. Impossible. The lab is sterile. These samples were sealed the moment we dug them. Michael smirked despite his pallor. Doesn't matter. Even if it's real, so what? They're dead. Fossils don't threaten us. The living things do. His words sent a chill through the room. Ignoring Michael, Fatima clutched the fossil like a relic. This changes everything. Humanity always looked to Mars for resources, for survival, for escape from Earth's ruin. But maybe, Mars is here to teach us. To warn us. She turned to Daniel, her voice breaking. They had oceans, Daniel. Oceans. And they lost them. Do you see? We stand on their graves, and all they ask is that we don't repeat their fate. For a moment, Daniel couldn't answer. He felt the weight of her words pressing into his chest. The crew split down the middle. Luis placed a hand on Fatima's shoulder. She's right. This is a message across time. Proof of what was lost. Akira added quietly, and it fits with the warnings. War, destruction, extinction. They're not just telling us, they're showing us. But Elena folded her arms, her face like ice. No, this isn't philosophy, it's leverage. Whoever controls this discovery controls the narrative on Earth. Nations will kill to own this truth. Fatima snapped, her grief turning into fury. Is that all you see? Power, ownership. This belongs to no one. It belongs to all of humanity. Elena's jaw tightened. And yet humanity will fight for it anyway. That's reality. That night, Daniel sat alone at his desk, staring at the image of the fossilized spiral. He wrote, Day 20 Fatima found proof of an ocean. A multicellular fossil, a creature that once swam in Martian seas. My chest aches when I look at it. Not with fear, but with sorrow. Billions of years ago, Mars teemed with life. Now only dust remains. And we, humans, arrived to strip mine the corpse. Fatima wept today, not because she was afraid, but because she saw a reflection of Earth's future. If oceans can vanish here, they can vanish anywhere. Even home. That night, Fatima dreamed. She stood on the shore of a vast Martian sea, waves glittering under a blue sky. Strange fish with translucent fins leapt from the water. In the distance, towers of gleaming metal rose from islands, their spires reflecting sunlight. Then the sky darkened. Storms roared. Explosions lit the horizon. The towers toppled, waves boiled, and the sea drained away into endless cracks. She awoke with tears on her face, whispering, they were alive, they loved their world. And they lost it all. The next day, as Fatima prepared the fossil for preservation, the comms console lit up again. The red glyphs flooded every screen. But this time, the message was different. The characters reshaped themselves into an unmistakable symbol. A wave. An ocean. Fatima staggered back, clutching her chest. They know I found it. Akira stared in horror. It's not random. They're responding directly to us. To her discovery. Daniel's skin prickled. He stepped forward, his voice a hoarse whisper. They're not just warning us anymore. They're teaching us. The med bay was silent except for the steady beep of monitors and the faint hiss of oxygen valves. Michael lay still, his chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. Luis sat at his side, exhaustion etched into every line of his face. For hours, nothing changed. Then, at 3:47 mission time, Michael's eyes snapped open. They darted wildly, as if he had just surfaced from drowning. Easy, Luis murmured, leaning over him. You're safe. You're back at the base. Michael's lips cracked into a grim smile. Safe? You think we're safe? His voice was hoarse, almost mocking. Luis frowned. Michael, you've been unconscious. You need to rest. But Michael pushed himself up, trembling with the effort. His eyes were bloodshot, haunted. I saw them. While I was under. They were watching. Always watching. And they don't want us here. Daniel, Fatima, Akira, and Elena rushed in at Luis's call. Michael sat propped against the bed, his face pale but his voice steady with an eerie conviction. They don't want us to take anything, he rasped. Not the fossils. Not the metal. Not their memories. They're guarding it, like vultures over a corpse. Fatima stepped forward, clutching her notebook. Michael, what did you see? His eyes bored into hers. Eyes. Millions of them. Not human. Not alive. Machines, maybe. Or ghosts. Doesn't matter. They're watching. Every breath, every step. And they're waiting for us to cross the line. Akira stiffened, glancing at Daniel. That matches the signal behavior. Every time we discover something new, the transmissions change. It's reactive, like surveillance. Elena scoffed, but her voice lacked conviction. So what? Ancient automated systems, still running after eons. That doesn't make them gods. Michael laughed harshly, a sound that chilled them all. No, not gods. Judges. Later, Daniel sat with Michael alone. The pilot's hands shook as he spoke, but his words carried weight. You think you're leading a mission, Michael whispered. But you're leading a trial. They're measuring us, Daniel. Every fight, every betrayal, every time we choose fear over unity. They're watching it all. And when they decide, he trailed off, his eyes glazing. Daniel clenched his fists. Michael, you've been through trauma. You're seeing things that. Michael cut him off with a cold smile. Haven't you felt it too? That itch at the back of your skull. That sense you're not alone, even in silence. That's not paranoia. That's them. Daniel had no answer. Over the next 48 hours, Akira set up diagnostic sweeps across the base. The results only deepened the unease. Look at this, Akira said, projecting a graph onto the wall. Every time we log a discovery, the nano in Michael's blood, the fossil Fatima found, the signal spikes. It's instantaneous. As if someone is tapping directly into our systems, reacting in real time. Luis muttered, so we're living under a microscope. Akira nodded grimly. More than that. It's interactive. We act, they respond. Fatima hugged her notebook to her chest, whispering, then maybe we can speak to them. Learn from them. Elena shot her a glare. Or maybe we should stop feeding them information before they decide we're not worth keeping alive. That night, Michael tried to walk, ignoring Luisa's protests. He stumbled through the dim-lit corridor, muttering under his breath. They see us. Every move, every thought. They're in my head, Daniel. In all our heads. He stopped suddenly, slamming his palm against the wall. His face twisted in anger and terror. We shouldn't have come. This isn't exploration, it's intrusion. Fatima reached for him, but he jerked away. Don't touch me. You think they'll let us leave? No. Once you're inside the cage, you don't walk out. He collapsed back into Luisa's arms, sobbing like a broken man. That night, Daniel wrote with trembling hands. Day 21. Michael woke. He speaks of watchers, of eyes that never blink. I want to dismiss it as trauma, as hallucination from the nano-infection. But the signals prove otherwise. They respond to us in real time. Every discovery, every argument. We are not explorers, we are specimens. Observed, judged. And I fear he may be right. Once you're in the cage, the only way out is death, or compliance. The next morning, Akira confirmed it. He replayed Michael's midnight outburst, recorded by the base's internal monitors. As Michael screamed about watchers, the comms console lit up simultaneously, glyphs flashing one word again and again. Yes, Fatima gasped. They answered him. Luis shook his head in disbelief. It wasn't random. They confirmed it. Elena whispered, pale as ash, so it's true. We're being watched. The crew stood frozen, staring at the glowing glyph on the screen. Michael, still pale but lucid, gave a hollow smile. Told you. They're here. They always have been. And they're not just watching, they're waiting for the moment we prove we're no different than them. Daniel's throat tightened. He could almost feel invisible eyes pressing on his skin, colder than the Martian night outside. For the first time since setting foot on Mars, he wasn't afraid of dying. He was afraid of being seen. Akira hadn't slept in 3 days. His desk was buried under sketches of glyphs, digital models, and fragments of code extracted from the signals. His hands trembled as he typed, but his eyes burned with obsession. Daniel found him slumped over the console, whispering in Japanese under his breath. Akira, Daniel said softly, you're pushing yourself too hard. But Akira jolted upright, his face pale yet lit with a feverish glow. I found it. I cracked the structure. He pointed to the screen, where streams of Martian symbols cascaded across. It's not just language. It's code. A memory system. Daniel leaned closer. What kind of memory? Akira's voice dropped to a reverent whisper. A vault. An archive. This entire site, it's a data storage facility. The pyramid, the tunnel, the nano, all of it is part of a system designed to preserve their civilization. We've been walking inside their library. Fatima gasped, tears welling in her eyes. A library, of an entire world. But Akira shook his head. Not for everyone. The code is clear. The vault only opens to those it deems worthy. Luis frowned. Worthy? By what standards? Akira's hands trembled as he pointed at the glyphs. Patterns in behavior. Choices. Reactions under stress. Every conflict we've had, every decision, it's been recorded. Judged. That's why the signals change with us. The system is testing us. Michael laughed bitterly from his cot, his voice still weak but cutting. So we're lab rats in a cosmic morality exam. Congratulations, Commander, you're not leading a mission. You're leading a trial. Silence filled the room until Elena stepped forward. Her face was pale, her jaw tight, as if every word was a stone she had to spit out. There's something I need to tell you. All eyes turned. She took a shaky breath. Back on Earth, my government gave me orders. If we found anything advanced, I was to secure it for Russia. By any means. I transmitted data, I sent reports. But the responses, she swallowed hard, they weren't from Earth. They were already altered. The Martians intercepted me. Fatima's eyes blazed. You betrayed us. You betrayed all of humanity. Elena's hands clenched. I thought I was serving my country. But now I know, I was feeding their test. They saw my choice. And I failed. Daniel's chest ached. He wanted to be furious, but he only felt the crushing weight of inevitability. They were all being measured, every flaw magnified under alien scrutiny. Akira input a final sequence. The lights in the lab flickered, then dimmed. On the far wall, symbols flared to life, reshaping into moving images. The crew gasped. A Martian city unfolded before their eyes, towering spires, vast canals, seas glittering under twin moons. Then the image darkened. Explosions ripped across the skyline, weapons of unimaginable power tearing the city apart. Towers crumbled, oceans boiled, skies turned red. Fatima's knees buckled. This is it. Their history. Their warning. The projection ended with a single glyph, burning bright in red. Remember. Silence choked the room until Elena whispered, "They destroyed themselves. Just like we're doing on Earth." Luis shook his head. "Then we can't let this knowledge be twisted into weapons again. If Earth learns too soon." Fatima interrupted, her voice trembling but firm. "No, we have to share it. The truth belongs to everyone. It's the only way to stop the cycle." Michael coughed a bitter laugh. "Share it, and watch nations rip each other apart trying to own it. We'll deliver them the keys to apocalypse wrapped in a bow." The crew erupted into argument, voices overlapping. Some desperate to protect, others to reveal. But beneath it all, Daniel felt the weight of Akira's words pressing on him. They're watching. They're judging. That night, Daniel wrote in trembling script. Day 22. Akira confirmed it. The site is a vault of memory, storing the rise and fall of Martian civilization. It opens only for the worthy. But what makes one worthy? Compassion, unity, or simply obedience? Elena confessed her orders, and I saw shame in her eyes. Fatima weeps for truth. Michael curses us all. Akira fears his own obsession. Luis clings to survival. And me, I'm trying to hold us together, even as we fracture. If they're watching, what verdict will they reach? As Daniel closed the journal, alarms shrieked through the base. The comms console blazed with light. Glyphs scrolled faster than the eye could follow, then froze on a single line. The door opens. The ground beneath the base rumbled. Dust fell from the ceiling. Akira's eyes widened. The vault, it's responding. It's opening for us. Fatima clutched her fossil like a relic. Elena stood frozen, guilt etched deep into her face. Michael laughed weakly, a hollow sound. Daniel's heart pounded. They had been judged, not in words, but in action. And now, the vault was calling them deeper. The crew scrambled to the surface. In the distance, at the entrance to Kandar Chasma, a dull red glow lit the horizon. As they arrived, the tunnel's end had transformed. A vast metallic wall, smooth, ancient, colossal, was splitting down the center. With a groan like thunder, a door taller than any cathedral swung open. Beyond lay only darkness, deep and endless. Fatima whispered, "It's waiting for us." Daniel swallowed hard, staring into the void. He felt the invisible eyes of Mars pressing down on them, a judgment centuries in the making. "We step inside," he said hoarsely, "and we stop being explorers. We become witnesses." The ground shook as if Mars itself had come alive. A grinding roar echoed through Kandar Chasma, deep and metallic, reverberating in their bones. The crew clung to the rover for balance as dust rained down from the cliffs above. Ahead, the once solid wall at the end of the tunnel split in two. A fissure widened, spilling crimson light like the glow of molten metal. The air seemed to vibrate, carrying with it a low hum, not mechanical, not natural, but something in between. Fatima's voice broke the silence, a whisper of awe. "It's alive, the vault itself is alive." Daniel swallowed hard, his throat dry. "No, it's not alive. It's opening for us." The fissure widened into a doorway large enough to swallow a skyscraper. Its edges were lined with intricate glyphs that pulsed faintly, as though blood coursed through veins of light. The metallic slabs moved with an elegance that defied their size, smooth, inevitable, unstoppable. When the dust settled, a vast black void yawned before them. The darkness inside was absolute, devouring the rover's headlights, as if light itself was afraid to enter. Michael, pale and trembling, let out a hollow laugh. "Behold the mouth of the beast. Step inside, and it'll never spit us back out." Luis snapped, "Save your energy. You shouldn't even be out of bed." Michael smirked weakly. "If this is the end, I want to see it with my own eyes." The crew stood at the threshold, frozen between fear and destiny. Fatima clutched her notebook against her chest, eyes blazing. "We can't turn back now. This is why we're here. To learn, to bear witness." Elena shook her head sharply. "No, this is suicide. We don't know what's in there. We don't even know if there's air, or radiation, or worse. For all we know, stepping inside means death." Akira's voice was low, haunted. Or worse than death. We've seen enough to know the vault is more than stone and metal. It thinks. It tests. If we enter, it will judge us. Luis turned to Daniel, desperation in his eyes. You're the commander. Say the word. Do we go in, or do we seal this place and report what we can? All eyes turned to Daniel. He felt the weight of leadership crush down on him like never before. Whatever he chose would define not just their survival, but humanity's first step into an alien legacy. As the crew argued, Elena drifted back toward the rover, her hands trembling. She activated her private console, praying for even the faintest link to Earth. Static. Glyphs. The same as before. She closed her eyes. No one is listening. Earth is silent. The only voice here is Mars. Her chest tightened. She had betrayed her team, her mission, her own conscience. And now, at the edge of the vault, she realized, her orders meant nothing. No government controlled this place. The only choice left was hers. Suddenly, the glyphs carved into the door blazed with light. They rippled like liquid fire, rearranging themselves into patterns visible even from meters away. Akira stared, his tablet vibrating with data. They're responding, he whispered. To us. They're reading our hesitation, our debate. The glyphs froze into a single message. Akira translated, his voice cracking. Enter or be erased. A chill swept through the crew. Michael chuckled darkly. Well, that's clear enough. It's a choice, but not really. Daniel straightened, his voice firm despite the dread coiling in his stomach. We can't run. Not from this. We came to Mars seeking answers. If we turn back now, we bring nothing but fear to Earth. If we go forward, maybe we bring truth. Fatima stepped beside him without hesitation. I'll go, even if it kills me. Luis hesitated, then nodded. I'll keep you alive as long as I can. Akira's hands shook as he tightened his helmet straps. If this is memory, then maybe, they'll let us learn. Only Elena lingered. Her eyes darted between the black doorway and her teammates. Finally, with a heavy sigh, she whispered, if we die in there, I hope at least it's for more than politics. Michael leaned against the rover for support, then dragged himself upright. If we're all damned anyway, I'm not staying behind. Daniel nodded. Then it's settled. Together. Before stepping inside, Daniel recorded one last entry. Day 23. The vault has opened. The door is not an invitation. It's a command. Enter or be erased. We stand on the threshold of a civilization that destroyed itself, and left behind judgment for whoever comes after. Fatima sees hope, Elena sees fear, Luis sees survival, Akira sees knowledge, Michael sees doom. And me, I see only the abyss. But I will lead them through it. Because if humanity is to be judged, then let it be by our courage to face the truth. He closed the journal and sealed it in the rover, in case they never returned. One by one, the crew stepped into the darkness. Helmets on, hearts racing, boots crunching on ancient stone. As the last of them crossed the threshold, the massive doors began to close. The grinding roar shook the cavern, the crimson glow dimming. Fatima whispered a prayer. Luis gripped his med kit tighter. Akira's tablet flickered with unreadable data. Elena's breath came in shallow gasps. Michael laughed under his breath, a sound halfway between terror and madness. And Daniel looked back only once, catching the final sliver of the Martian sky before the doors sealed shut. The darkness swallowed them whole. Sound was deafening. The colossal slabs ground shut behind them with a finality that shook the air, a thunderous echo rolling down the tunnel like the tolling of a cosmic bell. Daniel turned just in time to see the last sliver of Martian sky vanish. In its place, only seamless metal remained, glowing faintly with the same crimson glyphs. They were sealed in. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence was heavy, oppressive, broken only by the hiss of their breathing inside helmets. Fatima whispered, her voice trembling with awe. We've crossed the threshold. There's no going back. Michael gave a dry, cracked laugh. No going back. There never was. Not from the moment we landed. Their helmet lights cut narrow beams into the void, but the blackness seemed to swallow the light whole. It wasn't the simple absence of illumination, it was thick, suffocating, almost alive. The beams faded into murk after only a few meters, as if walls of shadow pressed in on all sides. Akira raised his scanner. The readings spiked and dipped erratically. This isn't normal darkness. It's absorbing frequencies. Like the very air is, hostile to light. Luis adjusted his grip on the med kit strapped to his chest. Great. A tomb that eats flashlights. Just what we needed. Daniel forced his voice to remain calm. Stay close. Don't separate. They moved forward, boots crunching against a floor smoother than natural stone, metallic, almost glassy. The faint hum from earlier still resonated, deep and steady, as if the entire vault had a heartbeat. After several tense minutes, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber. Their lights revealed towering walls inscribed with glyphs stretching dozens of meters high. The symbols pulsed faintly, reacting to their presence. Fatima gasped, tears welling in her eyes. It's a chronicle. Their entire history, written here. Akira's hands flew across his tablet. Yes, it's data storage, encoded in layers. Every glyph is more than language, it's an archive. This chamber is a library. Alina's voice was cold, though tinged with awe. A library guarded by death traps and nanoparasites. Some welcome. Michael staggered against the wall, tracing the glowing glyphs with a trembling hand. They're watching us even now. Every move, every thought. The glyph beneath his palm flared brightly, then dimmed, leaving behind a new symbol, one they hadn't seen before. Akira froze. It changed. It responded to him. More glyphs lit up across the chamber, swirling into new configurations. Akira's tablet buzzed violently with incoming data. There, evaluating. This isn't passive storage. It's interactive. The vault is testing us as we go. Fatima's voice was hushed, reverent. Like guardians, judging if we are worthy. Michael scoffed, but his laugh cracked into a cough. Judges. Executioners, more like. If we fail their test, we'll never see the sun again. The chamber vibrated, and for a moment the floor itself seemed to shift, forcing the crew closer together. Daniel steadied himself, his pulse hammering. We're inside a machine that thinks. The pressure of the vault was beginning to fracture them. Elena paced, her voice sharp with fear. We need to turn around. There has to be another way out. This isn't exploration, it's entrapment. Fatima snapped back, eyes blazing. Entrapment. This is revelation. We are the first to stand in this place. The first to see the truth of another world. How can you call that a trap? Luis raised his voice, trying to mediate. Enough. Fighting won't help us. We need to stay alive. That's my only concern. Akira, pale and trembling, whispered, alive. Or worthy. Because I don't think those are the same thing anymore. Daniel clenched his fists. We go forward. Together. That's final. But even as he spoke, he wondered if the vault could hear the uncertainty in his heart. Later, when they paused to catch their breath, Daniel scribbled inside his journal by helmet light. Day 24. We are inside. The vault responds to us, reshaping, recording. Michael touches a wall, and it changes. Akira says it's evaluating. Fatima believes it's revelation. Elena believes it's a cage. Luis only wants survival. And me, I don't know. I feel eyes on us, not just from the walls but from the very darkness. We are no longer explorers. We are intruders. And the vault is deciding what we are worth. Without warning, the chamber ignited with light. Glyphs across every wall pulsed in unison, flooding the space with crimson glow. The crew shielded their eyes as the symbols shifted, converging into a single coherent image. They were no longer looking at walls. They were looking through them, into a vision of Mars long gone. Seas shimmered under blue skies. Cities of metal and glass rose along coastlines. Creatures swam in the oceans, gliding with grace. For a heartbeat, it was beautiful. Then the vision twisted. War. Fire. Towers crumbled. Oceans boiled away. The skies bled red. The cities collapsed into dust. And finally, silence. A dead planet. The vision ended, leaving only one glyph blazing above the door on the far side of the chamber. Choose. The crew stood frozen. Fatima fell to her knees, sobbing. They want us to learn. To remember. To break the cycle. Elena's eyes burned. No. They're forcing us. Manipulating us with fear. Akira whispered, trembling, it's the test. They're watching how we respond. Michael laughed hollowly. Choose. Choose what? We already know the answer. Humanity will destroy itself, just like they did. This is a grave, and we're already buried. Daniel stared at the blazing glyph. His heart pounded, his breath harsh inside his helmet. He knew whatever choice they made here, whether to seek knowledge, to flee, to fight, would define not only their fates, but Earth's. he whispered, more to himself than to the crew. We've gone too far to turn back. This isn't about survival anymore. It's about judgment. The vault's hum deepened, reverberating through their bones. The test had begun. Thank you so much for following this journey to Mars with me. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and give a like and share to support the series. Your encouragement gives me strength to keep writing the next chapters.